urine internally. And I realized that I'm coming down sort of on the other side of the tracks. I'm the Ayurvedic teachings say no about that, and the Buddhist teachings are like it's divided because there seems to be a discrepancy in the translation.
Right.
And when I've and don't get me wrong, when I first heard about it, like when Harry was talking, I was going like, oh, cool, it's like I'm gonna try this, and I used the I Ching to kind of guide myself. And every
Mm-hmm.
time I asked the I Ching, I would try it. Well, let's just try drinking. Let's try, enema. And every time I asked, the I Ching would say no. And
Yeah.
and then I like a couple weeks ago, I thought, all right, well, here's sort of like an in between, right? How about if I just swish with it?
Mm-hmm.
And I got like an okay from the I Ching, so I went ahead and swished,
How did it
and
feel?
just like a mouthful. And this is about 2 weeks old urine, and after about I kept it in my mouth for about a minute and a half, and it started to really burn, so I spit it out, and my my tongue got extremely red, and all this mucus started like
Coming out.
forming on it. And it was like it was really kind of interesting because it was almost like a spider web of
Mucus.
mucus. And I mean, my mouth was it was like painful to do anything with my mouth, including eating, for about 24 hours. And so and so so there's that. And then uh, I guess basically where I'm coming from is that our community, everybody's saying they're kind of gung ho on aged urine internally, and I think there's just another perspective here, and and
Well,
and that's what I'm wanting to hold, and just
yeah.
and I don't want to, and I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not trying to create a debate about this.
Oh, no, not at all.
I'm just wanting to get this piece, this perspective in the pie, in the puzzle.
Well, what I think, Chris, is we're all biochemically individual. So
Mm-hmm.
what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you. And that's, people have to decipher and feel with their own inner guides how they need to detox and how they need to heal and how they need to, because it's not all the same for everybody. And if
Yeah,
you find swishing it was too harsh, then, then it's not for you at this time.
yeah.
You may find later on it is.
And the other thing is, that Sage and I have built up this Shivambu organization, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel a sense of responsibility that we're establishing ourselves as an authority, and I don't want to misguide people by saying, oh yeah, aged urine is great, it's for everybody, blah blah blah. I want to at least have some responsibility, that, oh yeah, the Ayurvedic teachings say no about it, and the Buddhist teachings are divided, and here's my experience, with the I Ching and with my own actual, experience, and I just want to, create that. I just want to make that clear. I just want to make that platform. So what I'm planning to do is, I do the website, so I'm going to make a page on the website. It's all about your aged urine. I'm going to make a topic in Shivambu Hut and make that, just have that be and create a forum. And basically, I'll do a video. I'd like to do it with somebody, do like a discussion, and I asked Sage and I asked Harry, and Sage is not really wanting to do it, and Harry, I haven't heard back from him, but I'll do it myself if I have to. I'll just put a video out and just say this is what. So anyway, that's kind of a long-winded answer to how I'm doing. Thanks for listening. Hey, Uma, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can you
welcome.
guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Can you? Oh, good.
Yeah, good to see you.
Blessings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Les,
Sorry, I joined a little bit late.
That's okay.
that's okay. We're going to officially get started. I'm going to read the disclaimer, and someone hug the dog.
That is, sorry, that's, I'll mute right now.
Okay, well, don't mute the dog, whatever you're doing. Okay, so we're going to officially get started here. By participating in the World Urine Therapy Conference Zoom calls, you acknowledge and support the personal use of this ancient yogic practice. You agree to not only participate in a live streaming broadcast on the subject, acknowledge that you are being recorded, but also agree to release Brother Sage and the Shivambu organization from any liability from the use of the recording of this video on any platforms, either online or offline, for the education and promotion of urine therapy. If you decide to be in attendance of the call and not wish to be seen or heard, simply mute your camera in audio or leave the call now. Welcome to the Water family and our World Urine Therapy Zoom call. So welcome everybody. I went on a long hike. I've been doing this every day. Some of you caught on, I've been living off Shivambu, spirulina, and fruit. This is day 17. Wow, highly recommend it. But what I really touched deeply was the fact that if it wasn't for Shivambu, or the Almighty that is present in our water, calling all of us, we wouldn't have ever got to be here, or to meet each other, or to be able to enjoy each other's insights, love, and wisdom. So I am so grateful you guys are paying attention to your inner voices, and you made it here. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh,
So I would like to have everybody just check in for a couple of 2 or 3 minutes. Christopher has done a great lead to get us going here, and just kind of tell us what your personal experiences have been. Anybody new showed up with a testimonial, anything you want to just share with the group. Let's start with Darlene.
So I'm Darlene Teahen. I'm a naturopath and I promote urine therapy in my practice and all other therapies. But yeah, I'm presently studying the effects, and Christopher brought up the aged urine, and I'm studying the aged urine right now. I've got a 14 participant study going on right now. I'm in the middle of to see what the effects are in the blood chemistry and in the biology of the body, and energetically also. I'm using heart math to see the correlation, to see if their vibration has increased. I'm checking different modalities to see, is this healing? So thank you.
Thank you. Uma, over to you.
Hi there. I hope my puppy doesn't start in again. So I'm Uma Shri, and I'm just blessed to have found you all. Brother Sage, thank you for your loving light that shines every day, watching you on Facebook. So my journey started almost 8 years ago, and through a dental issue, and Shivambu just totally cleared that away, and so many other things have happened since then that just made me know deep within my being that this is the right path. And so one thing that, going fast forwarding to today, before this this meeting today, I was outside with my parrot, and the light was reflecting into her little water bowl. It bounced off and was right up near the gutter, and the light, it was just spinning, oscillating so fast. And I thought, so if the house wasn't there, the light would have still gone. We wouldn't have seen the effects of that reflection. So I thought, and it actually looked like a flame. I thought, our bodies are 70% water, and we are recycling the beautiful water of life. So when we might not be able to see that reflection and that oscillating of life energy, but I believe that it is seen and it is noted, and what we can bring every day wherever we are by this process is just beautiful. And so to bring the light, and that's why we're here, and I'm glad that I'm a part of this community. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
can I just ask about your name?
Uma Shri?
Yeah, Shri isn't that, doesn't the Shri part of it, doesn't that mean like holder of something?
Well, it actually means, there's a few meanings. It's an honorable term, which could be before, like, say, Swami Sachidananda, things like that. But after, I actually was called Shri the whole time I was at yoga training. But my name is Cher. So I wondered why they were calling me Shri. When I got my Sanskrit name, they said Uma. So I said, what about Uma Shri? And they loved it. But it's basically like compassion, love, there's so many different terms, but
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So, thank you.
It was such a nice, uh, way of thinking about the water in our body as being light. That's just beautiful. There's our,
Yeah. I captured that on video and I thought, oh my gosh, in the Bible it says that in the day of Pentecost there was flames on their head. And I just wonder, if we're walking around with flames that are even brighter than, and what can really, unseen forces see that, I believe. So there's nothing really to be afraid of. I yesterday turned on the not television, I don't have TV, but looking at world events, and I felt within my gut, like, started to get afraid or started to get anxious, not afraid, but just anxious. And I said, what is this? And so to not engage in those things, but honestly, just continue the practice every day, every moment, breathe in, breathe out, life and light. And the effect that we have in our personal surroundings. You're in Canada, right? I'm in Virginia. Yes. Boulder, Colorado. That's a nice triangle right there of light. I think.
Yeah, we can keep the energy going. It's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely making an impact on the world. More and more people are showing up in our lives, I can say personal life, that have found their way to this path or this journey or calling, whatever you want. And they're so thrilled to meet somebody who knows what's going on. So they're going to start show up in your life with the relief that, oh my God, here's someone I can talk to about this, because I can't share this with my family, my parents, my spouse, my kids. But with you, I feel like right at home.
I was actually told that, Brother Sage, by a medium this week. I was at a meeting and he came up to me afterwards and he said, your light will attract the people. Is what he said. Yeah. So it all connects with what you're saying.
Yes.
I also want you to notice how honorable the universe is when you start listening to your playlist, either Pandora, Spotify, or whatever you listen to music. How many times songs about water keep showing up?
That's neat.
I mean, I listen to a lot of kirtan and mantra channels, and it's amazing how many songs devoted to water keep showing up, and I just get all teary-eyed and keep listening to the chant. So just notice where it just keeps showing up in your life, or how many times you find yourself at a creek, at the beach, by a lake.
Yeah.
And what kind of a relationship you have with it.
My, if I may say, I collect rainwater and I distill it. And so, I mean, I love the rain. It's just amazing. And so, I tested the water from my tap. It said 0.67 and 0.50 is like the max amount of contaminants that should be allowed in the drinking water. Well, mine said 0.67. Well, the rainwater, it reads 0.1 or 0.01, 0.0 up to about maybe 4. And then when I distill it, it's like pure distilled, nice. Pure H2O, which is amazing. So the water's beautiful.
So I wanted to talk a little about aged urine, since the subject is arisen for myself and Christopher. I mean, when I started drinking aged urine, there was that sting, there was that kick, there was that tendency to gag on it, because I wasn't accustomed to it, and my mind had not made a new link or new association that age is more potent than fresh, and it had nothing to do with the association you had about the word aged, aging, sickness, getting older, and all that. And I still find a lot of people still having to battle with that in their mind. And so
Evolved, yeah.
and I noticed
That's a good word.
a lot of people are trying to force feed it down their throat. And I'm listening to Christopher last couple of days. I'm thinking, well, maybe if they heard it a different way, they realize it's not obligated to take oral aged urine to get results. Any feedback on that?
Well, I don't.
Last sentence, can you say that again? The last.
It's not obligated for people to drink aged urine to be healed.
So what do you mean by that? What?
Well, a lot of people still have the gag response, and it's like they're forcing themselves to drink it because Harry and myself and other people saying it's great for you, but their reactions are causing them to be resistant to doing it orally. Where's the static coming from, Uma? Anybody else hear it?
I hear it. It's not really distracting or anything.
Okay.
Okay. So my point was, if anybody, if there's a way that we can let people know, I mean, I keep preaching that this is this is intuitive medicine, and people will figure it out no matter what us experts are telling people. So whatever we can do to comfort them in either drinking it orally or topically, I think would bring more people to using aged urine.
And as I said before, I think it's whatever people need for their own individual healing. You know, I mean, one person might need it topically, one person might need it orally. Depends, you know, where your toxins are being stored, where, you know, where things are going on, for what you need as an individual, whether you need fresh. Because to me, the age evolved, which is the better word, is more potent. Absolutely. So you can have more healing if you need more healing, but at the same time, it might be too strong. So you gotta give and take, and, you know, and if people need guidance on that, if they're, you know, can't seem to figure it out with their own intuition and guidance, then, you know, people like you, Brother Sage, and me, and you know what I mean, can help. And Uma, you know, we can help them navigate, and Chris, everybody, you know, they can find someone to help them navigate it if they're a little lost on it. But I think, you know, if you use your own intuition, you can work through any issues that you may have.
Yeah, and I find myself having that conversation with a lot of clients from across the planet. You know, and you have to get a sense that when they're coming to you, a lot of them are desperate, a lot of them are scared, and they're relying on you to give them some solid ground.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to, you know, we Sage and I, we're gonna have like a recorded Zoom meeting about this, and you know, we decided not to. But the two of the topics, you know, the talking points were innovation versus tradition. And Darlene, I wanted to, I don't know. It seems like you know a lot about this, and I'd like to talk a little bit about, you know, have people kind of share their ideas about, you know, so there is in terms of tradition, you know, the tradition is saying, more or less it's saying no, and yet I believe in innovation. I am an innovator. I innovate, you know, metaphysically, you know, in terms of music and all kinds of things, and yet I find myself coming down on the side of tradition with this issue. And I'm just wondering if you have any insight about that.
I just think whatever your practice is. So if you have a specific morning practice that you go through of what you do, you know, with your waters, that is your own personal tradition. And if you've taken some of those traditions from different readings and different things, you know what I mean, that's part of your own personal practice. And it's to be treated as a practice and to be treated with love, you know what I mean? Whether you drink it, you swish it, you apply it topically, that is part of your, you know, practice, which should be taken with, you know what I mean, whether you're sitting, you know what I mean, at your altar with it, whether you know, do it in your bathroom, you know, whether you speak to it, you sing to your waters, you know, whatever your practice is, that's your tradition.
Right, but when I say tradition, what I'm referring to is like
The traditional traditions.
the century, the thousands of years of accumulated wisdom
Right.
about the human species. You
And
know,
that's their traditions that's been passed down and passed down and passed down. And so, you know, people can take those as a starting point if they don't know where to start, or they can have their own. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. The Damar Tantra, for example, 5,000 years ago was telling people about discard the first stream, collect the midstream,
Right.
and avoid the tail end. And a lot of that, yeah, it became tradition, but also wrapped in superstition because they associated that water with a snake. And you don't want to get poisoned, you don't want to get stung. And everybody that I seem to be associating with says every drop is precious. So you can follow tradition, or you can just intuitively drink it all, use it all.
There's a certain amount with going midstream is to avoid bacteria too, that if you have any bacteria in your in your, you know, urinary tract, in your bladder, that it will be at the beginning and at the end. And the midstream is the cleanest. That's medically what is agreed upon, you know, but that, to me, that's only if you have that bacteria present. If you don't have that bacteria present, and we, you know, we're bathing a lot more and we're doing a lot more things, you know what I mean, that, you know, I don't think that is as necessary as it used to be.
Right. And wouldn't people have to spend more time getting tested to know if they've got that bacteria?
Right. And, you know, but if people are regularly having UTIs and things like that, then, you know, the midstream might be a good call for them. But if they're not, then every drop is, you know, worthy of keeping.
Would you say the same thing applies to diabetics?
Yeah, diabetics, there's a lot going on. Yeah, so every case would be individual for that. And it depends if they have any neuropathy anywhere else, if they have ulcers, if they have, you know, different things that need to be healed.
Addressed. Christopher.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and I'm directing this towards Darlene again. Like, I'd like to understand better what, you know, what happens to urine when it starts to ferment. You know, what chemically, what's the difference? And as it ferments longer and longer, what, you know, what is increasing, what is decreasing, you know, chemically?
Well, I'm not a chemical biologist, so, but what I have noticed is that the stem cells kind of encapsulate any bacteria, and it falls to the bottom that creates the sediment. But and so some people say that sediment's bad or good, but to me, all that encapsulation, it kind of creates this crystallized energy that it's a whole nother realm of, you know, of energetically, it's creating this personalized crystal of your own energy.
So are you saying that, so as it ages, the stem cells encapsulate the bacteria, that falls to the bottom as sediment. So then what's left in terms of liquid is a purer form of urine, a more potent form of urine, and it's actually a crystallized form of urine?
Yeah, it's cleaner. It's naturally cleaned itself. So the longer you age it, it naturally cleans itself.
Okay.
But then the crystals on the bottom give it this energy that you can just, as it ages, the older it gets, you can feel the energy come from it, like you would a crystal.
So are you recommending to ingest the sediment at the bottom or not?
And that's where I'm kind of, the jury's kind of out on that one. I'm not sure if it's best to ingest it, if it's best to dry it and treat it like a crystal. You know, Matt and I have noticed that if you take that sediment and you add fresh urine to it, it evolves faster.
Say that again. So if you take that sediment and you add fresh urine to it,
it evolves faster.
The liquid or the sediment or both?
The fresh urine gets aged evolve,
Oh, I see.
it
So
moves along faster in its
yeah,
process.
yeah, it's
So I
like
can
a
only think it's the energy coming off of it that helps it become, a higher liquid faster because of that energy from the sediment.
yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something like kombucha or something that you've got this, the
The mother from it, yeah.
the fleshy blob, and
Well,
that
yeah,
and
so that
that
mother, so it's kind of, so the sediment kind of is like a mother, just like this kombucha mother, you know what I mean, that helps it move along faster.
Right.
So my specific study is very narrow because I can only do one study at a time. If somebody out there is interested in this and wants to support me in doing more studies, I would love to talk to them. If anybody wants to fund more studies, I'm doing this for my doctorate, but if somebody else wants to fund other studies that are bigger or more elaborate, I'd love to know more about what's going on in the sediment, what's going on in the urine, what's going on in other parts of it.
so Sage.
Yes.
We were last week we were talking about how about donations and about specific topics,
Mm-hmm.
specific uses for donations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think what do you think about making one of our donation please be for research done by Darlene? And
Definitely.
and maybe specifically about aged urine, or because it seems you know
Yeah, I'd love to have her team up with us.
Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it further, at any time.
okay.
I'm hoping I'm done with my participants at the end of August, and then I got to compile the data and write my thesis. I'm not quite sure how long that writing process is going to take, but then I should be done by the end of this year, or the beginning of next year.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, Christopher, I will follow up on is Vijay Gupta, one of our urine therapy advisors, said he was going to write a peer review article that he can publish through his university, so we can approach not only cities, but also possibly the Prime Minister of India to get their blessing for urine therapy for the world.
Nice.
That article's already written, right? It's just in the process of editing. Isn't it written already?
You're talking about the ones he sent us?
Yeah.
I'll double check. I think it's in another subject or another direction, but
Oh, I see. So you're talking about him writing another paper about aged urine specifically, or
no, about the use of urine therapy. He calls it auto urine therapy that
okay.
we can present to municipalities and governments.
All right, right.
To get their blessing, approval. The other thing that comes up for people, and you might have a clue about this, is what exactly is a date that it's considered aged urine. Now, I've heard everything from 4 days, starting with John W. Armstrong in 1944, to 9 months with Dr. Rosalind Hansen. So is there any way to measure or have a standard for people who want to know, well, is age just after the first fresh is collected in evolving, or is there a specific date?
I had to come up with a date for my study of what, for my study, I say 2 weeks. And that date I came up with just because I wanted it long enough to see results within a certain period of time, but not so long that it was going to cause too many detox reactions and people weren't going to be able to finish the study.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to, come up with an educated guess of what I thought would be a good amount of time to see results, but not, throw people into, a health crisis.
So should we, as a collective group, since we've got the Shivambu organization up and down here, and then we've got a naturopath in Canada, and Umi, who's in New York. Oh, no, she's in Virginia.
Right.
Should we set some kind of a standard for people?
I don't know.
Keep it intuitive.
I don't know if there needs to be a standard. You know what I mean? The longer it's aged, the stronger it is. And so I don't know if you need, a set, it's because everybody's different, you know what I mean? And so, 2 weeks is going to be really strong for some people and not strong for other people. So out of the 14 people I have in my study, one person's has had severe detox reactions and the others haven't.
Okay.
And that's and what is the dose, the general dose that you're giving?
For my study, and that's again, I had to come up with a dose that I thought would cause some healing, but not enough to cause too much of a health crisis. I came up with 10 cc's, which is 10 milliliters, which is 2 teaspoons.
2 teaspoons. I see.
And that's considered a safe dose?
It's proven to be a good one because I expected one or two to have a reaction, you know what I mean? And you don't know exactly who, because you've got to look at their medical history, but you know, how much are they still storing in their cells? How much, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a, because if they've never done the urine therapy before, how are they going to react? You don't know.
Right. And this is such a personal medicine. It's just,
Right.
it's so personal. And then there's people, I've gotten a situation where I still wanted to age my urine and I had 5 or 6 jars in my water closet, but something came up. I needed them all now. I couldn't give it the time it needed to age. And that's going to happen with people. We get very flexible in using it. And sometimes I just go out in the backyard and go, well, nobody's around. I get naked in the backyard and give myself a massage in the back. So when you need it, you have it, you use it.
Right. And so, you know, if I was kind of advising people personally and it wasn't part of the study, because in the part of the study, everybody has to be, you know, you have to have the same parameters and everybody has to do the same thing so that I can, you know, make it. But if I was doing it individually and people are just coming to me, then I would, you know, say, okay, let's start slowly, see how it feels, you know, are you having any reactions, and then kind of move up from there. But for this, I had to do everything the same.
Yeah, right. Create a standard.
Create a standard.
I think it's, I just want to put in as a perspective that, you know, I mean, 2 minutes after it's already different. I can already taste it's changing, you know, so, but just as a perspective, you know.
Darlene, everyone in your study, have they practiced this before, or are they all new?
They're all new.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted people who have never done this before so they could have a clean slate and see what it does for them, see what it does for their blood, see what it does, you know what I mean, for their skin, for any of the health issues that they may be having. So I tried to choose people that, you know, I have equal male and female. I have people with a variety of backgrounds, and I try to get people are between 38 and I think my oldest is 75. I wanted people who have a little bit of degeneration in the body, so a little bit older. I didn't want 20-year-olds that don't have any breakdown. I wanted people that, you know, things have happened, but not on medications. So there's a couple of people that are on a tiny bit of medications, but not anything that would cause anything, because I didn't want that to be a factor in it either.
Mm-hmm.
When they're taking medication, Darlene, do you tell them to avoid doing urine therapy, or to spread it out further on either side of taking the medication so they can benefit from the urine?
Well, for the study, I have a specific time where they have to do it, but for regular, it depends what they're on. Because some medications, you know what I mean, will really come up in the urine and some medications won't. So it really depends on what people are taking, where they need to start. Maybe they just need to start it topically, or, you know, swishing and spitting out. And you know, there's other things that need to be healed first if they're on a lot of medication, so that we can get the ball rolling, so that then they can do the urine therapy and continue it faster.
How do you feel about them while staying on medication, still doing topical applications?
And they have to see how they react and how they feel, and it depends on the medications what they're taking, you know. But you know, I think it's topically is great for so many different ailments, you know what I mean. So, you know, let's say you were talking about diabetes, for instance, you know, if somebody's diabetic, you know, their insulin and stuff like that, it might not be with their insulins and the sugars, it might not be best to drink it right away, but topically they could put it on any ulcers they have, or if they have circulation problems, they could rub it into the tips of their fingers and toes if they're having, you know, whatever's going on with them. They can start it, the process, and getting that energy around the body as other things are being healed.
And just to be clear, you're taking people from no urine therapy into aged urine, right? There's no kind of like walking through the urine therapy.
Right.
Fresh urine first. I see. Yeah.
Right. So and this is parameters I've chosen to show that, anybody can do this. And it's going to make a huge regenerative difference. And for my studies purposes, I'm doing it, the 10 cc's rectally. So it's not an enema, so it's going to stay in there, and hopefully it's going to go into the portal valve and the portal vein and go right to the liver, so that, the liver takes the brunt of all our indiscretions. And then hopefully that liver is going to get cleaned out and regenerate, which can snowball healing and all the others, our hormones, balancing and all kinds of other intestinal, bacterial issues and everything.
Is that also known as an implant?
I would say it's slightly different than an implant, because an implant, it's like, I would say implant is more solid, like when you're doing a fecal implant or something like that, that's more of a solid matter. And you usually take.
I'm thinking of the small little 2 or 3 ounce silicone bulbs.
Right. Yeah.
Where you just squeeze in. I mean, I used to do it with wheatgrass juice, and now I'm using urine.
Yeah. So it's just a small syringe with a lure tip. And you're just putting in 10 cc's.
How long does it have to stay in for it to be absorbed into the liver?
It gets absorbed right away. So there's veins in there. So some of the veins will take it right into the bloodstream automatically. And the main one, which I'm looking at, is the portal vein goes to the liver. That's done automatically, like within 5 minutes, I would say.
So an enema is going to do the same thing if you hold the liquid in for a while.
Yeah, but with the enema, you usually have to mix it with more water and stuff like that, and it holds and you go out. So they're both beneficial, but for different illnesses. So an enema would be beneficial if you've, had a lot of colon problems, or had a lot of irritation in your intestine, had leaky gut, had, Crohn's, colitis, all those different things that would help it. But just for the purposes of my study, I wanted to see, you know what I mean? And for the ease of people. So these are people who have never done it before, and I'm telling them to do this. Sometimes it was a bit of a big leap for some people. They had to have a lot of trust in me that, I'm saying that this is good, and this will,
Yeah. Well, I've been doing about every 5 or 6 weeks, I do, pure urine, and it's collected over a period of about 12 hours. So it's, in some way it's aged, but I actually hold it in for like an hour or two, so that's definitely going to go to the liver, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you find it more effective than coffee enemas?
Me?
Yeah.
Do I find it more coffee?
It's either one of you.
Chris, do you find it more effective than coffee enemas?
Well, I mean, I guess to find effective, I used to do coffee enemas. I loved them. I just had got to a point where I can't do the caffeine anymore. It just, it riles my body up too much. So, urine is the next best. If I want to get a buzz, coffee enema is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
But in terms of health, I'm assuming that urine is way better.
And you might say urine wakes your ass up in another way.
Yes. And I've done coffee enemas too, but I do believe the urine has a different stimulating effect, and then has just the energy of it compared to coffee is just so different. I can only imagine that it does more. So 10-15 years ago when I was doing coffee enemas, if I had known about the urine, then I think that would have been beneficial.
Well, I've been suggesting it to all my 40 and older guys for prostate health, because there's more and more guys that are having inflamed prostates or prostatitis. And so I would recommend to guys just to get in the habit of doing it just for health reasons. Like you want to support your liver, you want to support your prostate.
So you're saying enemas, urine enemas are good for prostate health. How often would you, what would be the least amount, the least frequency in order to have some effect, in your opinion?
Effect as in if somebody has a
Yeah,
post-
to actually see, you know, because like what the biggest symptom of prostate inflammation is that it's hard to fully, you know, empty your bladder, and you have to pee, you know, like frequently. To see a change in that, what would you recommend in terms of frequency of enema?
Well, it took me about 3 or 4 months to get where that wasn't a problem for me. And I think
But how often were you doing the enemas?
I was doing enemas every day.
Every day. Okay.
Every day. And if they're just doing it, if they're doing it for therapy, I would say as often as they can. If it's a maintenance dose, you know, every couple of weeks or so, just want to keep putting nutrients in that area. But I don't have a set standard, no.
Would you recommend colon hydrotherapy to begin the process?
Yes, and I'd also love to see, and this is written up in my books about the future of urine therapy, that you have a urine therapy colon therapist who puts either your urine or somebody's urine inside the colon system. So that's what comes in and out of your rectum and out of your bowels.
Mm-hmm. And that would prevent the need of putting a probiotic or anything into it. So if it's slightly aged, you know what I mean, that's going to have the bacteria and everything to, because the problem with colonoscopy and doing too many enemas is you're stripping some of that bacteria out of it. So if you're doing it with some aged urine, you're going to be maintaining that bacterial flora in there.
So when you, what I hear you saying is that when you do just fresh urine enema, it strips out the bacteria in the.
Well, fresh might not, but I'm just saying when you just do water, when people, when they're doing a lot of colon therapies and stuff like that, when they're just doing water, it's good to, you know, always to have the last batch have some probiotic in it so that you're not stripping all the bacteria. But if you're doing it with, you know, urine, ideally a tiny bit of age that has more bacteria in it, then that's going to not upset that bacteria level or maybe improve it if somebody's got some dysbiosis there.
And to put a drop of aged into, say, an enema bag of fresh urine, it's going to have that effect that you were talking about, the crystallization effect, where it it kind of it makes the fresh urine evolve quicker.
Right.
It's like a
So-
seed. It's like a seed.
Right. So you're going to have the energy there. Plus you're going to have, you know, just like you'd put a little capsule probiotic in there, you would have a couple drops of the age, you know, and that would, you know, have the right bacteria too, plus the energy from the age, plus the energy from the fresh. And you've got a good cocktail going on there.
Very nice, very nice. What do you guys think about injections? More and more people, I know Matt tried it, he went and got himself some needles. So you can put it in your thigh. For the people who, like, if they go into anaphylactic shock or asthmatic condition or something where there's no time to think about any kind of, you know, get them to the hospital or get a first responder over there, but you've got the needles, you've got the urine, and there are some people who do it just for maintenance. But what do you think about that as a protocol?
I've looked into it. I haven't done it yet. But bringing up the anaphylactic shock, that and not having epinephrine or whatever, you know, on hand, that would be, I'm wondering if that would be a good protocol, because, you know, let's say hypothetically that the system does crash and we don't have access to these, or we're, you know what I mean, out in the woods, or, you know, I'm looking, and that's why I'm doing the testing and all that, and the urine. I want the medicine of the future to be accessible, easy, and available, you know, and cheap and expensive, right? So that everybody can have access to it. And, you know, putting it in a needle if somebody's having anaphylactic shock, that, to me, that makes a lot of sense. I have never tried it, so I don't know for sure, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Right.
Aged or fresh?
And then would it be aged or fresh?
Well, if you're out in the woods, I guess
it depends what you have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
if
you
you're
only
carrying aged with you on your journey.
You know, you keep a little dropper bottle to put a couple drops, you know what I mean, of aged, and what if you, just in case you get into, yeah, I would say in the future, you know, traveling, you'd always keep a little dropper bottle full of aged to add to any fresh in case of emergency, whether you cut yourself, whether you know, yeah.
Yeah, this is 4-year-old.
And so if you're allowed on the plane, you know, up to 60 mils at a time, or, you know, you could have a little dropper bottle full of aged to bring with you. You know, I used to bring some little droppers of essential oils, my oregano, my vitamin C. When I traveled, I'd have a little, you know, collection of anything I needed, some colloidal silver, you know, just in case of getting into anything. And it has
Go ahead.
it has proved beneficial in the past, but I would add some aged urine into that, my little travel pack now, for sure.
Kit. Medicine kit.
Sage, what does the 4-year-old smell like?
Actually, and I kind of learned this from Dr. Roz. It doesn't have the bite that it did when it was like 6 months, 9 months old. Because what she had taught me is that the aged after a certain period, it gasses out. The ammonia smell gasses out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't have that part of the smell to it. It still smells like kind of like bottom of a rainforest. But I always carry this around, and it's great whenever your brain goes offline, you can't seem to track, and you need to get your head going straight. Or if you need some energy, it's just take a dropper full.
And I see, just ingest a dropper full.
Just put it on your tongue, hold it for a while,
Under the tongue, yeah. So in terms of open top, closed top for aged urine, what do people think?
I think it doesn't matter, but you know, if you've got a closed top, you are going to get that ammonia. Like when you first open it, that all the ammonia goes wherever the air is, and you're going to get ammonia to begin with. Mm-hmm. So you know, whether you burp it every now and then and let the ammonia out, or whether I just put some cloth over top of it to allow the ammonia to go out. But if you put cloth over top of it, then once it gets really aged, you almost have to seal it, because then it will start to evaporate.
I see.
But at the same time, I have one jar that's full of these almost black crystals, because it's evaporated so much over the last year that I've just got a jar full of black crystals. And I've been kind of, you know, wondering what to do with them. I might scoop up some and put some fresh in with it and see what happens to it, and just do my own little experiments. Because
have you ever tried eating a crystal?
I haven't. That's a good question. Well, I wonder what would happen. Yeah, so that's a sediment.
How old is
this one's a year old.
Year.
And it's not dark.
Okay, well, I'll show you. I'll go get mine and show you what it looks like.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Uma, you still with us?
Yes, I can't see anybody.
Well, your camera needs to be opened up. You have it.
Your camera is off on this end.
You should be able to see yourself on the screen. There we go.
Now we see it's like a kind of a greenish yellow.
But I can't see any of you.
No?
Yeah,
something's going on with your camera, because we can't see you, but there's like it's like a colored like
square.
A gold color.
So this is like almost a year old. It was made on August 5th of last year, so it's almost a year old, about 11 months old.
And how much did you have to get it to dry to that little amount?
So if you can see, there's a little light white line there. So I think I had about that much urine in the jar, but I kept a cloth on it and I didn't seal it. And so it just kind of evaporated until I got this.
There we go. Can see you now.
Yeah,
I still can't see you. I can't see you guys though.
No? Not too bad.
Wow.
So there's a tiny, tiny bit of syrupy liquid left, and then the rest is all crystallized.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that reminds me of what Dr. Rosalind Hansen, she brought about a 1 ounce glass jar with dried crystalline urine in it that was like 9 or 10 months old. And she says, that's white powder of gold. That's Ormus gold.
Right.
And then she passed it around, and people were allowed to get a little drop into there and put it under their mouth. And it was like, wow, is this what the alchemical process was all about?
So I'm wondering if I can, take a little bit of that and either add it to the fresh, or if I would, just put a little underneath my tongue, would that have any benefits? You know what I mean? Am I gonna, is my third eye gonna open up and, attach to the world?
Why don't you document it, videotape it, and do work with it any way you can? And if you feel like snorting it or whatever you want.
Make an experiment out of it. I trust you to have protocol for that.
Yeah. So it's in my works of things I want to do. I've just got a lot of it on the go right now with my study and that, and my present practice, but it's there.
Hey, Uma, I'm just wondering, if you if you go to the bottom of your on the bottom of your screen, you know the
Mhm.
icon for the
Yes.
and you're actually clicked on that icon. You haven't like drifted off of that. Blue,
You
the
mean
blue the blue icon, the the
okay.
the
What's it
Zoom.
say? What's it say on the icon?
The
Does
blue,
does it say anything about the camera?
I don't see blue, but I see, you know, mute, stop video,
No, no, no,
participants.
no.
What do you mean?
Down below that on your computer screen, not in the Zoom window, but on the
Okay.
bottom of your computer screen, you know, you have the taskbar down at the bottom. There's the
Okay.
icon, the blue icon with the camera, the white camera in the middle.
You talking about the Zoom icon?
Yeah, but it's
Mhm.
it's not in the Zoom window. It's actually on your computer.
Yeah, you might have to shrink your screen to see it.
So
Okay.
and yeah, you might have to go up to view and get out of full screen. You might have gone to full screen and get
I
out of
did.
screen, and then you can see.
Breathe,
Hmm.
everybody, breathe. We would love you to see us.
Yeah, I don't see it. Well, it's interesting though what you guys were talking about with the crystals. That has happened to me, and it actually happened years ago, and we just still have it. It's like this kind of a large square crystal. Um, if that is put it back in the waters, would that dissolve? I wonder what the hardness is.
Right. I think because it's contained as a sediment, I think it won't fully dissolve, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like you know, people. That's like the next stage of research of experimentation is, you know, sediment and how that you know works with fresh urine.
Right.
It sounds like we just don't know.
Because there's nothing, never been anything done on it ever.
These people that you have been speaking of, Sage, that you know, the woman who the or what did she call it? Or
Ormus
Ormus.
Gold,
Ormus
ORMUS.
gold. Is she does she is has she done a lot of you know experimentation with sediment and aged urine and fresh urine and
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to catch one of her videos, she started urine therapy when she was ready for this, 9 years old.
wow.
I met her when
Where is she? Where is she located?
she's like in South Dakota or the
What,
Carolinas. I don't know. I have to do some research, but um, she's a guest speaker a lot at the conventions because she's also a naturopath and she's an herb master and she knows all kinds of great stuff. And Dr. Roz Hanselin is her name,
Mhm.
Hanscen.
spell it again?
Dr. Rosalind Hansen.
Uh,
I can get you all in touch with her if you wish.
Mm.
But she has videos out that we can listen to.
Yeah, I don't know if she has a YouTube channel or just the fact that she'd been interviewed a bunch of times. I
Okay.
interviewed her a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And she's one of the go-to people that people look to for advice and suggestions.
All right. Well, I just want to uh, reiterate that I'm going to make a topic in Shivambu Hut. I'm assuming you're in Shivambu Hut, Darlene, right? And
Yes.
Uma, are you? Are you a member of Shivambu Hut?
I am.
Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
going to make a topic there, aged urine. So you know, let's just use it as a place to create a forum of you know any ideas, experimentations, you know, reporting, you know, articles, and I'm also going to create on our website. I'm going to create an aged urine page. So if you have any, you know, videos, interviews, articles, you know, kind of more permanent communication, send them to me. I'll put my email in the chat, and you know, let's get that going as kind of a hot topic. I think it's a trending issue in terms of of
Now,
urine therapy.
now, Christopher, the moment you upload it, publish it, or post it, does everybody get notified? All the members?
On Shivambu Hut? You should, yeah. I think if I actually, I think I have to make a post in it, but everybody should get that. Yes.
Okay, and Uma and Darlene, keep inviting people. I'm thrilled to say that we have 254 members right now in the Shivambu hut. Christopher and I came up with the goal of 2,500 people, 2,500 members by what? Before 2022?
Yeah, I know it's an ambitious goal, but as numbers grow, they grow logarithmically. So it's it's possible.
Great. So we'll have a community online that can interact with each other. Now, there are people like Matt and Darlene that have been helping out people answer their questions. And it's just really exciting to see that where the members are supporting each other inside the hut without having to, myself jump on, but I do when I can.
And at some point, let's Sage, you and I and Darlene have a three-way conversation about how we can create donations for furthering her work with aged urine.
Yeah. And I'm open to more funding and more fundraising for the entire board of directors and our global mission, which is to send the education and awareness to people. Because when we have more funds, we can produce more content and we can do more things out in the world, which I want to do on the streets of Boulder to teach people how to take it off the internet. To be bold enough to talk about pee in public.
In Boulder.
Well, Boulder's been a cutting edge place of consciousness and spirituality back in the 70s when folks like Ram Dass and Allen Ginsberg and Timothy Leary, they would hang down at the coffee shops. I don't know if they were tripping on anything, but they were the guys who started the consciousness movement for the 60s and the 1970s. And then Naropa showed up and all these gurus have been showing up and the yoga is blossoming here and just all kinds of self-exploration and new thought.
And the home of Mark and Mindy. Yeah.
Oh, Mark and Mindy, yes, of course.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because when Robin Williams passed away, there's a Victorian house that's on 1600 Pine Street. People were bringing flowers and condolences and they were putting it on the fence and they were putting it into the property on the front lawn. And the people who live there going, we miss him too, but we live here. Keep it outside the fence.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely town. Anything else you guys would like to bring up today? We did a really good call today. So thank you guys for being here. Anything you'd like to
I just want to say that I'm going back to the drawing board or back to the Oracle with this idea of eyedropper, aged urine and eyedropper, and like maybe it's one drop, and I'm gonna see.
I've been doing that every morning lately as I've been putting age to my eyes because
how much?
I need glasses to drive, so I've been trying to work on healing that, and I've been doing that every morning.
So
Are
what's
you
your
doing eye cups or drops?
Just drops.
So what's your? I've been doing fresh urine in my eyes for decades. What's your experience with that?
It does sting. It does sting a bit.
Stings and.
But I don't find it anywhere. Like I've done a lot of Sananga root and stuff like that in my eyes, and that's way like Sananga stings like it opens your third eye and brings you into the next universe. This is nothing, nowhere near that. This is stings for 2 seconds and is done.
And how long have you been doing it?
Probably about 4 months now.
And are you seeing any results?
Varying. I find some days I see better than other days, and I don't know if that's because it's working on healing or or if it's just because my overall body. Some days if you're more energetic and stuff like that, then it's stronger. You know what I mean? You're able to.
Yeah.
Do you think the phase of the moon would be a factor there?
That might be a factor too. Absolutely. Yeah.
What is the oldest or the most aged urine you could put in your eye? Like 5-year-old, 8-year-old, or 8 years in evolving?
I would say you can put anything, but the longer it is, it's gonna probably sting like a snanga root. It's gonna, you're gonna have to sit and meditate with it for a second.
Yeah.
It's not gonna
Right.
be a quick morning thing. You're gonna have to sit and breathe it out.
Yeah, you're finding
Mhm.
yourself jumping and dancing.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. How many of you guys are practicing nose drinking or neti pots?
Mm,
I'm doing that every morning, just like one snort back, and not trying to hold it there or anything. It just, and then just kind of inevitably I have to kind of blow my nose, but a lot of mucus. And I've been doing that for about several months, couple 3 months.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I find that
fun.
really helpful if you're wanting to practice alternate nadis, nasal breathing. It's really
Mm.
hard to do if only one side's open and you can only breathe
Right.
in and out. So it's been nice, and I would do the same thing with a cup of the hand, just snort it up, clear out the excess mucus, and all of a sudden those passageways open up.
Yeah, I do it with fresh because I find it stings too much with the aged in my nasal passages because I've had damage there. But I just do it with the dropper and I just kind of squirt it up, hold my head back for a second, kind of put it around. Sometimes if I have more time, I'll like invert my head and get it out all in there. If I don't, I just blow it out right away, depending. So
Can you hold up that syringe again?
Yeah.
These things you can find at Walgreens or almost any pharmacy store for like, what, $4 or $5. Is that 20 cc's?
oh yeah, this is 12 cc's.
12
10. It's on the box it's considered a 10. Because for my study I got like a box of 100 of them for like $36 on Amazon.
Mhm. Well, there was a guy who came on our Zoom call about 10 times ago, or 10 Zooms ago, goes by the name of Kombucha Clark. And he was teaching how to use that for ear cleansing. And he was showing that if you lean your head one way, you can squirt it up and do a minor cleanse. And if you tilt your head the other way, that's going to go deeper in the eustachian tube and get inside the throat.
I did do it the deeper way once, and I got some water stuck in there for a few days, so it was like kind of foggy for about a week on because it had trouble coming out. So I do believe it's beneficial, but I did have trouble getting it out.
what kind of syringe is it? What is it called?
The one with the little tip on it, it's called a LUR tip, LEUR.
Okay.
Christopher, here's what they have at Walgreens.
Okay.
It's called earwax removal kit.
And it's
Right.
just a box of those syringes?
No, it's one syringe and it comes with a blue tip at the very end. It comes with this at the end. And there's something else you guys may want to know about. I was at Target doing some shopping and I ended up coming up to the pharmacist. I said, you guys have these ear syringes to clear out earwax? And they said, no, but we have a little 10 cc. You can have one for free.
Mm-hmm.
So
A lot of time pharmacies will give them out for free. So if you ask.
Yeah.
Because they're for giving out medicine and stuff like that to children and stuff like that. You can get little of that.
So that's called a 10 cc syringe?
Yeah, and that's what I've got.
CVC Pharmacy. Well, this was Target.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the same size?
I think that's the same size.
Versus the 20.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
That one's got I like yours, it's got a little longer tip on it. But the blue one, the blue tip, that one goes in, like this is just a straight hole. That blue tip goes in different directions for doing the ear.
Okay, but the one you have, is that what you're using for implants?
Yes.
And so people have no problem because when you use an enema tip, it's a longer tip with a hole in it. That works fine?
Some people love that it's smaller because it doesn't feel as invasive. As long as depending, you know what I mean? I do have one guy who's a fairly tall, big guy. He's having a little trouble with it. And I said, if you need a longer tip one, I'll get you a longer tip one. But as long as it goes in past the sphincter valve, you know what I mean? Then it's in there and it just closes.
Yeah.
You don't need to go in very deep. You just need to open that valve.
It also doesn't look as intimidating.
Right. I didn't want to scare people.
No, this won't hurt a bit. Well, wonderful, wonderful. Where do you think, this is Zoom call number 15, and we're getting 500 views. If you want to see how the views are turning around, just go to my YouTube channel. But do you guys share these, the links on these calls, or do you think this has been helpful to the people that you've been working with? Because I'm really loving doing these calls.
I think these calls are really valuable. I think the consistency is really important to me, every other week. And but it's a long road also. It's like we just have to, and it's great that you're putting it on YouTube, because it'll always be there on YouTube. Whereas if you put it on Facebook, you don't know when it's gonna, fall away.
Disappear. Yeah, I do like that it's on YouTube too, because the lives on YouTube or on other platforms, if you do a live, then all of a sudden it's gone and you don't have access to it, and so I like that it's there indefinitely.
Yeah.
Well, the way it works on Zoom is that you have the recording on your Zoom account. And what I first do is I download it onto this laptop and then upload it to YouTube.
Yeah.
Which means if you guys want to have it, does that mean you go to my YouTube link and just download it from YouTube, or do you need?
Yeah, well,
I could just share that link.
it's much easier. Video file size is large, and so people, we don't want to have a bunch of video on our computers, but links, it's right there. It works. So yeah. But I think it's, I think what you're asking is like, okay, now that we have this kind of catalog of videos on YouTube, what are we going to do with that? And I think that's a good question, and I think maybe we could meet about that, and just kind of brainstorm.
Yeah, we're building content. We've got more and more and more, and all the videos that I put out and some other people put out. There's some way to create it. I think we're doing a pretty good job over Shivambu Hut. Is we're putting them in one place, so people don't have to do so much searching for different subjects related to urine therapy.
And
Right.
to mix in there with these meetings, to mix in with those meetings interviews, with noteworthy people in the Shivambu movement, or just specific topical dialogues. I think it's gonna add variety. But it's gonna add interest too. And then you can start that kind of thing. You can start marketing. You can with the title. It's like somebody who's specifically interested in aged urine. Would go to this specific video.
Right, and we can title it that in the descriptions of every one of them.
Yep. Make some tags up for the different topics, bunch of different tags that we've covered. This topic, this topic, this topic, this topic.
Yeah. I mean, I think an interview with Darlene would be great, because like who else is doing, rigorous experiments with something in the urine therapy, movement, specifically with aged urine. I don't know who else is doing it. She's like one of a kind.
I would love to hear if anybody out there is doing any studies. I would love to hear about it. Please reach out.
I think the way we're going to find out is if we do an interview with you and we put that out, and then we're going to, it's going to attract the people who are interested in that. So
right.
And it's these kind of interviews, like when we brought on Harry Matadine, we've brought on Tuche, who's known as the plasma goddess. These are the people who are growing in their following. And it's nice to bring them all on one screen so that we have all these networks that join even if they're just an audience. So it's a thrill to have you guys share a screen, because it's going to help a lot of people.
Good.
It's really great that you're doing this, Darlene, because a lot of people wouldn't even pay attention unless there's some kind of science-based evidence that they can say, oh, okay,
right.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Uma. Yeah, no, yeah. I want something, that's tangible that people that need the science can wrap their hands around, and then maybe take the quantum leap to being a little bit more, seeing the benefits and the energetic, that it has, and understanding those leaps, it's a little bit for some people and they need the science behind it. So
Yes.
It's also one of the, you know, if you can get, if we can make some kind of leeway with science regarding urine therapy, that's, you know, science has so much clout in the world, and there's so many people who, if they only knew that science was saying, oh, hey, there's something going on here, this could be good, you know, rather than having science say, oh, this is, you know, you got to be careful with this, this is, you know, foul, this is, you know,
dangerous. Yeah.
yeah, dangerous. That's like a huge foot in the door. It's to get some kind of, you know,
And possibly maybe it has
acceptance.
been done in the
Like,
past and it's just been deleted and removed because, you know what I mean, they feel threatened by it. But, you know, I would love going forward, hopefully we can create this new database of science, you know, that it is science-based, it has been proven, it has been, you know what I mean? But we know it can do so much more than just allopathic medicine can, you know.
Yeah, and for the folks that read Martha Christie's book, she has evidence and research in the book, but yet we're bringing it more up to date.
Right. Yeah. And some of those are not direct, you know, urine therapy. They're more side studies, which, you know, are good. You know, it's good to reference those side studies, but they're not, you know, the direct, you know, what effects does, you know, fresh have? What effects does does aged have? What effects does, you know, does a sediment have? I would love to know, you know, some of those answers.
Yeah, and all this data that we're collecting is definitely going to bring more respect and confirmation to this practice and to this movement. And I'd recommend that any one of you has any ideas, either email it to Christopher or myself so that we can start incorporating it, not only these calls, but what our organization is doing for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And Uma was saying that water has a memory. It absolutely has a memory.
yeah, actually, that's something I wanted to just mention. So what I do when I first drink it in the morning, and it's usually a full cup. So I have this. I use the Enneagram, which is a, you know, a geometric kind of organization tool, and I go through this. I kind of go like the absolute into creation, into our solar system, into like the governing angel, you know, for the day, you know, whether it's like there's an archangel for each day, into this, you know, the sun, into the planets, and then each day there's like, you know, the first day it's microorganisms, and the second day it's plants, and the third day it's insects, and the fourth day it's fish, and the fifth day it's lizards and birds, and then mammals, and then humans. But each day I'm drinking to, like today was humans, and it's like drinking, you know, the urine to humanity, and it's like, you know, using that idea that the water has memory, so I'm infusing, you know, the urine with this kind of dedication to humanity. And I don't know if
That's beautiful.
speaks to anybody, but that it's yeah, it's a way, it's kind of a way of doing the what was his name,
Emoto, and this is something.
Yes.
Dr. Emoto's famous study. Yes.
Yeah.
I put out this idea about, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months ago, that I'd love to have some, and we came up with this Curlian photography app that has before and after pictures of people drinking their urine, so we can see how the aura colors were changed. And the other project that goes along with that is put up messages of positivity and peace and love versus, positive message versus negative messages of fear and hate on jars of urine, and photograph the energetic changes, or if there's any crystalline forms like a moto, but we'll do it with urine.
Well, because every once in a while you get some mold on the urine or something like that. I wonder if it's because it's either extracting some of the negativity from it, or if it's because it's been exposed somehow to some of the negativity around it. And these are so many questions that need to be answered.
Right, and we have some people, they never clean their jar before they first put the urine in it, so it's already pre-contaminated.
Right, but at the same time, I think some of that sediment, like Matt takes the old jars and keeps the sediment stuck to the side of it to put the, you know, new fresh urine in it, because he believes it evolves faster, and you know what I mean. But at the same time, even if you're not cleaning the jar, because it's plasma ultrafiltrate, it's a, you know, sterile solution. It shouldn't, you know, form mold and stuff like that. And so if it does, is it taking it out of the urine? Or is it the energy around it? Or is it because it's coming out of the body and it's kind of learning how to process that? And so maybe the urine underneath the mold is even more beneficial for someone who has some negativity in their body for releasing that energetic force. That's just questions I have.
I love it.
So, you know, maybe in the process here that there's a new science getting created, you know, because the scientific community has become corrupted in my perspective. It's been bought, you know.
It was bought at the beginning
but
of
they don't, you know, they don't own scientific method.
right.
You know? And so, you know, we just have to use scientific method and create you know, a new science that is based on it's based more on belief, you know, so that we can start measuring things, we can start investigating things that we can't necessarily measure, you know, and just and you know, and do it in an uncorrupt way, in a way that's actually seeking truth rather than seeking money.
Right.
And the fact that it's already in the collective consciousness, just the fact that you brought it up, we might just attract someone who's doing this. And then we can align it with what Christopher's idea is and anybody else in this group. Marvelous, marvelous. Well,
right.
We didn't say our prayer, but
well, let's just do it.
Here's to the water of life. May it bless you, heal you, calm you, center you, clear up your mind of all doubts, concerns, and fears, and may you prosper in all ways. Blessings.
Blessings.
And Christopher has his giraffe drinking cup. It's a
I love that meme.
It's real. It's now a cup. You can get it from Christopher.
I have to get going, but it was great connecting with you guys. It was great to meet you, Uma.
We're closing the call now.
Yeah, good to connect with all of you.
We'll do it again soon.
All right.
Absolutely.
Blessings,
Take
guys.
care.